All right, guys ready? George?
I'm ready.
All right.
Taneytown Planning and Zoning Commission, please come to order. Would you stand for the pledge of the flag, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Let the records reflect the members that's present. Commission members should have received the draft minutes, February 27, 2017. Is there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
No, sir.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the draft minutes, February 27, 2017, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Action items for tonight. The Village of Meads Crossing, action requested approval for pattern book and request for continuous approval of the Village of Meads Crossing Phase 1 and 1A final subdivision plan. Jim, you want to start us on that?
Sure. The pattern book, you should have had in your packet the revised sheet that we talked about at the last meeting, that updated the phasing plan and clarified the entry onto Angel Road as being part of the next phase, regardless of where the building blocks were located, and also the language for the community center, the rec center, and pool have been added to the phase sheet number 3. So everything else is as it was, but as you may recall, last month we deferred approving the pattern book because of that question about the phasing plan. So that's updated and it's ready for approval. We want to do things one thing at a time.
Right. All right, so let's entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the pattern book.
I'll second.
Open for any further discussion. Comments from the floor or staff? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That was aye, right?
Yeah, uses.
Okay. Sorry there. Okay, was there anything else dealing with that, Jim, that we need to discuss at this time?
Well, they want contingent approval, correct?
Page. They just said that regardless.
I wasn't sure if
On the
Continues on the,
final subdivision, we've received all the agency approvals with the exception of State Highway. And the comments from State Highway are regarding a swale that was added because since the original plan was approved and this past year when we've been working through all the revisions, State Highway requirements have changed somewhat and they were asked to add, Meads was asked to add a swale, and they've been going back and forth with the engineer, tweaking that, and that's the only thing that remains.
okay. Then I'll entertain a motion for that.
I move that we approve contingent on State Highways approval.
Contingent approval. Right. On
Contingent,
contingent.
contingent on State Highways approval. Okay.
I'll second it also.
Okay. Any further discussion? Do we know what's the holdup? I mean, it's been months.
The letters are getting shorter each time, but it seems like every time MRA sends something back, State Highway comes back with another little.
State highway is not easy to deal with. And
You don't have to tell us that.
yeah, we keep winnowing the comments down, but they keep
So based on what you've seen, what's the greatest effect it's going to have on these plans?
It doesn't change anything on those plans.
Okay.
As Jim said, there's a grass swale that, in order to get stormwater management credits, needs to be of a certain.
Right.
Do
And I would also note we can't start construction until we have that permit, so there are safeguards.
George, you had something?
Not on that subject. I was going to ask something about the railroad.
Does it have anything to do with the motion that's on the floor?
No.
So any other comments? Okay. All those in favor of the motion for contingency approval based on state highways, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, Jim, did you get that? Okay. Motion carried, thank you. Okay, you want to?
Yeah, I ask a question. When you cross the railroad, do they still make you take out, do you have to pay a yearly fee to cross the railroad out there?
No.
They don't do that anymore?
That's only infrastructure underneath.
Well, we have to pay to walk across with Cambridge Rubber. That's why I was wondering if they still make a charge when you cross the railroad.
There was discussion on that 3 or 4 years ago. Maryland Midland now has their own in-house attorneys, and they had not brought it up as an issue.
Okay.
Did Meadowbrook have that issue with Jim?
I wasn't around when Meadowbrook.
Okay.
I know they had to invest a substantial amount with the improvements at Keenan Street with the overhead lighting and everything, just like you see on 140, which
Right.
is some thought a bit overkill for a actual street. But it does function as a collector.
wall.
So I'm sure we'll be seeing something very similar at Meads.
Right.
We built a walkway across, a regular walkway, a nice walkway, and they charge us a yearly fee.
Over land, over top the road, we don't have a fee. And it's interesting, with this project, we've done the title search, Larry Flickinger, we come through his property. He actually owns the railroad, which I think is different from a lot of different cases we apply.
We pay an annual fee to, actually, it's not state highway, it's Maryland Transit Administration. And I don't know, they used to own it, but it may be all owned by Midland Railroad now. But there was a air rights, we used to have to pay for.
Okay, anything else for Meads Crossing before we move on? All right, next thing is VAPCO preliminary plan update. Is someone want to start us on that?
Good job.
That's easy.
Our easel has failed at its one job.
Yeah.
It's falling.
Yeah, watch out there, it's going to fall again.
Moving on here.
Here it goes.
Just, I guess we've received several agency approvals from the county, so the project is moving forward pretty well. We're still waiting for some revisions to come back in with regard to stormwater and lighting and a couple little things like, well, not that stormwater is little, but the county's been really responsive in their review, and we've gotten a number of approvals already, so it's moving along. And Andy Brew and Andy Stein are here to give us an update. So.
Okay, what about the state highway? Any?
Nope. No word on that one yet.
Traffic impact study is approved, and plans were submitted on March 1st to State Highway Administration. At the same time as the site development plan, I think State Highway's timeline is comment responses to us by April 15th.
They haven't required much out there, have they? State highway?
We're gonna be putting in some pocket turn lanes.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
that, I saw
there'll be
that.
the 2 turn lanes, and there is gonna be a little bit of widening on 194, including a deceleration lane for folks making the right turn in. But, yeah,
I'm surprised that didn't become a big deal.
well, we haven't seen the first round of comments.
I half expected a traffic light to go in there.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
As Jim mentioned, we have.
Nice looking building now.
Approval letters come back. At this point, I have written or verbal approval from every agency in Carroll County. So all county agencies have signed off. We're going to be responding to Jim, or resubmitting to Jim in pretty short order. We had some building details that we needed to get ironed out and developed. As a direct result of that are the elevations that were submitted to you tonight, the color elevations we have here on the board in front of us. I have Andy Brew and also Bill Tice and Randy Bradley here from the backhoe as well, in case the commission had any specific questions about the architecture of the building, or the design of the function.
Very impressive. I was really concerned having the building across the road for a warehouse type situation, manufacturing, coming into Taneytown, but it's very impressive. Thank you for that.
Just to clarify, we do have the SHA temporary permit for the reconstruction, so they have been responding to us.
I don't think there's enough.
Somebody mentioned the traffic light.
I was just half expecting them to do it to you, that's all.
We're not expecting.
Right.
The number of trips,
I
we
hope
have a
not.
generation chart on the site plan, and it doesn't even approach traffic.
Okay. I do have a few questions, so I'll start mine out, and then everybody can jump in. Jim, what's the building height for commercial? Is it 50 or 35?
It's 35.
35.
That's why the pitch is so shallow.
We are exactly 35 feet at the peak of this building, which is back here. So the actual finished rubber surface is 35, and then it slopes at a 1/4 inch per foot to the front and to the back.
Okay, and what is the fall from the road level to the building?
The elevation from the elevation at the road is 486.
Yeah, 486.
So there's 8 feet of fall from the finished road surface to the finished floor.
8 feet.
8 feet, and then this edge is at approximately 32 feet. So this edge is 24 feet above the road.
Okay, and you're gonna have brick 8 feet up, so from the road, we'll be seeing the metal, not the brick, right?
Well, the split face block is 8 feet up around the majority of the building, but here where the office area is, you can see it steps up.
Okay,
So it's 12 feet high here.
12 feet, okay.
So it's going to be very obvious from the road. And this, by the way, is not standard metal building siding. It's an upgrade system. It's called IMP, insulated metal panel. I wish I could think of an example for you down here where you can look at it, but if you've ever been to Hanover and seen the potato chip factory, it's that type of, it's a tongue and groove panel that has an insulated core and metal interior as well as exterior. So it's a higher level finish. So this will be all architectural split face block. The front, the left side and the right side. The only standard block will be in the rear, which you won't see. Then the insulated metal panel, an architectural metal trim, scupper boxes, not a gutter, which also gives a nicer, cleaner look. And it's hard to get the colors perfect in a rendering. UVAPCO would like us to try to match the existing building, so we're going to try to get close to that. But they also don't want this to overpower their headquarters building. So
What will we see on the roof from the road?
the roof is going to be black rubber, not metal building metal. But again, remember this, when you're sitting on the road in your vehicle, even if you're 6 feet above the road, this is still 24 feet above the road. So practically 20 feet above your eyes, this edge.
Okay.
So I'm sure well, actually, the high point is probably about the front of this building. I was going to say, when south around the turn and come up, you may be high enough to see the roof, but I kind of wouldn't think you would. I don't know that for a fact.
There were just a couple questions. Can we take that down and jump to, I was looking at the lighting, and this may or may not have effect on it, but where the sidewalk, where it comes out to 194, is there going to be any lighting for that sidewalk for the people coming across 194 at night? You have it for the parking lot and the entrance, but there wasn't anything that I could tell for the sidewalk.
I don't know if there's an intent to use that sidewalk at night. We've let the parking lot, everything will be, other than the existing lights that are up by 194 now, what do exist.
Do you know where the closest existing light is to that sidewalk?
I don't.
Across the driveway.
Yeah, I think it's on the other side of the street by the existing building. Where's the closest? We've got one on the drive aisle coming in. There is one right on the drive aisle coming in.
On the opposite side of,
Yeah, on the opposite side, yes.
okay, I don't know if that's an issue or not, but it's, I was just concerned about people crossing the highway at night.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay. On, I guess it's the left side where you have your ADA. Is there any reason why you didn't do your parking straight with the building instead of making a separate parking lot? I was just thinking about if I had to plow snow in that lot, where you going to put it and how you going to get in and out?
Yeah, that lot design was a result of a concern from a backhoe due to the truck traffic that's going to be coming in and out of the site. So we consciously made an effort to segregate the parking from the truck traffic so that we wouldn't have folks getting in their cars and backing out into, semi-tractors coming in to make deliveries, pick up materials, or take out materials. For snow plowing, there is going to be an island on this side that might be possible to push it over to. But yeah, that was a safety concern, something that the backhoe identified for us fairly early on.
Okay. And then on the right-hand side, at the far right, you've got a fire hydrant somewhere. The clearance to go around the driveway on the right-hand side past the building looked like it was only going to be like 12 or 12 and a half feet of clearance between there and the edge of your surface. On next corner over, to your right. Keep going. Right there.
Yeah,
Is that clearance enough to get a fire engine around there?
it is. I've run a simulation for a 43-foot trailer on a tractor trailer, and it can circuit this building. That was another requirement specifically for a backhoe. The intent is not to have truck traffic over there, but we can accommodate it if it goes through.
Okay. I did look at the drawings.
You did. Is that a prefab metal building?
It's a pre-engineered steel structure, so your columns, frames are all pre-engineered steel, but then it's conventional mentality, meaning the split face block veneer, the IMP standard, what they call B deck,
Right.
and then continuous insulation and rubber roof.
May I ask the manufacturer of the metal building, or is it just
American buildings,
American buildings? Okay.
same company that's done all of their existing facility.
Anyone else have any questions or
Who
comments?
puts that roof on?
Donald B. Smith.
Okay, they do that, they do most of that around here.
It's going to be
I'm
a
just-
rubber roof.
I'm just wondering if they got it.
Black EPDM.
So is that a clear span, or does it have columns within the building?
There are 6 bays across,
Okay.
50, they're all 50 feet. There's one at the center here that's 60, and they are all designed for continuous ridge grains,
Okay.
all 6 bays.
Other question. Go ahead.
I was
No.
going to say, somebody mentioned hydrants.
Yes.
The water service design is not completed yet, so we still have to work that out with the county. But obviously, we'll satisfy their needs for the hydrants, et cetera. What's going on is we're still designing the sprinkler system, and that has to be coordinated with the fire service.
I had another question about the hydrant, but I'm sure the engineers will figure that out. Up front, the hydrant, I think there was a hydrant on the right-hand side going in, back to the front of the building where the ADA is, all the way across. There's a hydrant there on the right-hand side of the driveway going around the turn.
Yeah, there's one right there. And then there's one on the left side right there.
Okay. My concern was where it was located, based on the first engine going in, hitting that. It's going to block anyone else from getting around.
You mean this one?
That one there, if that was moved to the other side of the driveway. But they'll pick it up, I'm sure.
Yeah, the way it is right now, they won't have to go through any parking spaces. We try to set
Okay.
it so that they don't have to pull through, because they'll just smash somebody's front, back, side windshield. So this way, no car can park in between where the truck will pull up and the hydrant is located.
Does our water system give enough pressure for your fire control when you're,
We're working on that. For a standard system, it does. We're looking at a upgrade system for reasons that I won't get into tonight, code
Yeah.
reasons.
I was wondering about that.
Booster pump?
Potentially. Yep. But for their occupancy and a standard web pipe system, we don't need a booster pump. But we're looking at 3 different sprinkler systems, trying to determine what's the best fit for them. And one of those may require a fire pump.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything we should be asking or covering from the staff side?
Not at this point. I'm waiting for the revised drawings to get resubmitted.
Can we ask you guys a little bit?
Sure.
As Andy mentioned, and I believe we have all the county.
Yeah, I have written letters from every agency for fire protection, and I have a verbal from them.
As I think you all know, we've really been pushing the timeline on this project, and the cooperation's been tremendous from this office and from everybody in the county, and the SHA, believe it or not. And it was because of that cooperation we were able to get, and Andy's hard work, we were able to get a grading only permit, which allowed us to actually start today, if you've been out by.
I have, yeah.
So our next goal, or the next domino that we need to fall is to be able to get a foundation permit here in mid-April. The timing of that is we're submitting our entire shell permit drawing package this Friday, and we have a commitment from Carroll County, from Jason Green, to give us a one-week review. Our problem is we need to get the zoning certificate from Taneytown before they will issue that permit. We think that knowing the timeline here, that he will accept our drawings for review, meaning he can finish review, but he would not release a permit until he knew Taneytown was out. So our understanding is you're expecting comments from Brian Lubenow maybe today or tomorrow.
In the next couple days, I would hope, yes.
Okay, so we're trying to figure out our timing to, we have everything we need from the county, and we think that they'll be prepared to issue either a shell permit or a foundation permit. But we need to see you guys again before the end of April, if that's possible.
Before the 24th. So what are we looking at? I mean, Jim, the 10th is town meeting, so you won't have it then, so we could do it like the 11th or 12th, if that's, or just jump to the 17th, but the 17th is 3/4 of the way through the month.
You want to do it before the 14th?
Yes. But it's the third Monday.
Good Friday.
If you have to go into a fire pump, do you have to store water for that or not?
No,
You use it right out of our system.
you guys have the flow is there.
We're not waiting
Oh,
for
there.
that many comments. What about the 7th?
Excuse me?
Not waiting for that many comments. What about the first week? Yeah,
First
we can't
week's-
do it Wednesday night, but we can do it Thursday or Friday. If the comments come through.
I guess it's all, we need something to work with
But
here. I
they
mean,
want to do it by the 14th.
give us some ideas of when do you expect it,
The 5th is a workshop.
Right.
right?
I said it can't
So
be that.
we could do it the 6th?
Or the 7th.
I can't
Or
do
the 11th.
6 or 7.
That's all right.
And that would give them a week to get to the 14th, which is what they need.
Right.
Would,
Your thoughts, Jim?
so for the timeline, you're looking at foundation to be able to, for the county to issue a foundation-only permit, is that correct?
Well, our drawings are complete for shell permit. So what we're planning to do, our hope was, the only thing that our shell permit drawings don't have on are the interior office, which are only about 7,000 square feet. So we're going to go back in this summer for the office permit. The focus here is the shell by the deadline we're working under of September. So if worst comes to worst, I'm fine to ask Jason for a foundation permit. I think we'll pay for a foundation permit, then we'll pay for a shell permit, then we'll pay for an office permit. So we obviously would like to minimize that. The only reason I would do a foundation permit, though, would be if for some reason I was able to get it without a zoning certificate, but my understanding is I can't. So we just prefer to get a shell permit.
Haven't had preliminary yet.
Good, until September. And like I said, I'm fairly certain that he will accept our drawings Friday, knowing the circumstances.
Digging,
Meaning, typically they
Grading
don't see
only.
those until you have a zoning certificate, because they don't want to spend the time if your project goes up the chute, when I think everybody knows that's not happening here, so, I think he'll review them.
We're definitely getting into a little uncharted territory here, sequence-wise. But I'm sure that, well, I would imagine that I could talk with Brian Lubenow at CDM, get his assurance that there's nothing he sees in the stormwater management or utility plans that would require altering the footprint of the building. We need to figure out on the city end procedurally what kind of authorization I would need to issue a certificate without site plan approval. But I'm thinking we probably could figure something out in the next few
We haven't did preliminary yet, Jim, right? We haven't,
No.
Don't do anything except for the.
we haven't did anything except the
Since
Grading.
concept,
grading
Right.
right.
and the concept. So I don't think we've ever broken down like this before.
I was wondering that your timeline makes it like a week from this Friday, when you should have an answer from the county about a review, right? If you're turning them this Friday, they're going to review them in a week.
You're referring to the building drawings.
Right. Mhm. And we use the zoning certificate usually as our only sign-off, because that's what we use to get the building permits and everything. But maybe we could, in this situation, say that the zoning certificate, if we issue that, isn't meaning compliance with site plan approval, since that's not going to happen, but it could do all the other things like the water allocation and the things that the council does, so that basically you're locked in, you get a zoning certificate for that, and we could probably issue that if the council did it on the Monday after that Friday. Now, I'm past dates here, but.
The 10th.
The 10th. And that would get you your zoning permit. It would mean that you all would still get to meet sometime and do site plan, but it would be all exterior stuff, and you're not in a rush to do that anyway at that point.
No, just to give you a general sense, our plan is foundations mid-April,
Mm-hmm.
steel mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be working on the steel until probably July 1. So
So,
There's plenty of time, but it's just, we had to kind of put some of these things side by side to have a chance of meeting the
Right.
schedule. So I guess what I was gonna ask, and I think you were alluding to it, Jim, is there any way, if we know the footprint isn't going to change, to get a foundation-only approval?
yeah, I think that's what, I mean, the idea I'm kind of cooking up is that that would be the approval for the foundation so that your board wouldn't have to make a determination on the plan. Because I think you're going to be uncomfortable with all the other stuff that you haven't looked at. But as long as the foundation location is okay, you're okay with what, that's all you need, right?
Well, basically, once we, for the preliminary, we base our decision here on all the letters back from the agencies.
Right, so you
So
could
the
give
The
preliminary approval.
agency's gonna be going through this. How would the agency get a chance to do it before we?
You know, the only agency we really don't have at this point is CDM. We've got approval from every county agency, and within the next day or so, going to be able to address all of Jim's comments that we can satisfaction. So really, we only got one agency at this point.
So if we have all the agents' approval, why can't we do a preliminary, or not preliminary, yeah, preliminary?
Preliminary.
Well, is that final approval you're getting then? I
Well,
mean, you're-
I think we were hoping with this process to lump kind of preliminary and
And
final
final.
together. Yeah, because of their timeline. So really, when we
We have
do
all
the
the
final
letters.
preliminary,
That's all we need.
the only thing where the changes on that plan is preliminary to final. That's the only change.
What's that?
We're concerned with
Listen to
the
him.
letters. Once we get all the approval-
You woke him up. What are you doing?
Huh?
Once we get the approval, that's our concern, and that's what we base our
That's all, yeah,
decision on.
right.
Right.
That's all we got to go.
So if we can get that, we can move, this commission here can move forward pretty easy.
Okay,
In time, too.
In time-wise, yeah. But,
so can you meet before the council meeting?
well, yeah, why not?
Yeah, if we get the approval, we can meet.
6:30 on the 10th?
I mean, that's what I'm talking about is that, because remember, it's not just that, it's
I don't
the
want it
other
on
piece
10.
at the council too that you want to get done.
Why not?
6:30, we can do 6:30, yeah, 6:30, because my other meeting,
Literally before the, well, yeah, because you have your,
but my meeting,
Fire
same time as yours,
department meeting,
7:30.
but if we do 6:30, we
And you
can,
can be
Yeah,
done
we-
and head over.
I mean, 15 minutes
Talking about 6:30 on the 5th.
no, the 10th.
The 10th.
Before the meeting.
Okay.
before the town
Literally
meeting.
before the council.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me back up here now.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm just concerned about.
That's what he asked, so we
No.
got you a date to the
I mean,
10th. Now, so what?
Things are bouncing around here pretty quick. So, you say you got approval, but do we have the letters?
Yes.
Yeah, he said he can have
So we got the letters now then, all but state highway.
It's just, for me, it was a couple lighting comments. I don't recall how many comments Brian Lubenow had, but,
We're waiting to see this.
okay. But all the county reviews are in, and again, state
do it
highway. But they've got, forest conservation, landscaping, grading, soil conservation's sent the letter. I mean, all the non-city and SHA have issued approval letters.
And state highway has approved the traffic study and
Yeah, the traffic study from state highway's been approved, the temporary construction permit's been approved, we're just in for the access.
My direction is find a way.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what,
And I think we can accomplish that then,
that's what we
right?
gotta do.
So if we do 6:30 on the 10th, we can have,
You want to be more aggressive?
We can do it tonight.
we can do it at Jay's house.
But I
That's quite
That's
aggressive.
aggressive.
You could do it tonight
if we have all the
on
letters now,
contingent on the one
continues
that's,
on, right.
CDM,
to make a
right?
decision.
and you do two, right? You're going to do it twice because you don't like doing them together. So
Right.
preliminary and final contingent on CDM's letter. And then there is no more need for you to meet because you're going to do what CDM says because it's not that big of a deal. So then it's done tonight. Yeah, but now
We
that
don't have
takes
to
that
worry
off.
about that.
That takes
We don't
that
have
out
to
of
do
the, I don't think so. If they do this tonight, then we don't have to do anything special.
If your life is in need of entertainment, you should. do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to come back just for status updates, it's easy.
Okay, then let's do that.
But we're not doing anything out of the ordinary if you were to do it tonight.
Because they already have the letters.
It flows, everything flows
Okay.
normal.
I'd say do it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This is,
So let's
we're pushing this,
Hold on a
really,
minute.
Right?
make sure
What we
now.
have to do, we want to push it.
All right, say the first one.
We've done it one other time.
We have everything we need tonight to approve the preliminary with the contingency
CDM.
of CDM and state highway.
And zoning.
And zoning approval.
So basically.
We
my
are the
comments-
zoning.
Right, so.
So we don't need that.
Contingent on us?
We don't need that. We can we handle that.
We're pretty sure how
So
we're doing.
so based on what I just said, can somebody make out a motion?
So moved.
Yeah,
Quick before.
make that a motion.
Okay.
Second it.
Okay, you got all that?
He's writing it down.
All right.
As long as he's got it.
Now just backtracking again now. We have everything we need now for that, right? We're clear.
That's the first one.
So is there any comments from the floor? I want to make sure I get,
We need,
Ollie got a
I
second.
second.
yeah.
just because I beat him to
We
the
had too
punch.
many motions and too many seconds, but we got them all.
Okay.
Henry, any other comments? Anybody, any comments from the floor? All right. Jay, we ready?
I think we're ready.
Jim, you ready? Would you
to-
mind reading the
to
motion?
Grant preliminary plan approval contingent on State Highway Administration, CDM Smith, and zoning approval.
Right.
All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Now, we can do the same thing and make that as for final.
Right. And that means it's not coming back here anymore.
We won't talk to you guys anymore, which worries me.
Not that we don't want to.
Well, it's like, did we deal with everything you wanted to deal with?
Well, I don't know, because we're pushing this through so fast. I mean, this is,
Right.
We deal with I'd say we did a pretty good job of dealing with most
I
everything.
just want to make sure we covered every ground and we're not setting any precedents or anything.
So like on the comments that you made tonight, some of them were like informative and some of them you said, like, somebody's going to catch that somewhere.
Yeah, the engineer when they figured, right. Well, actually, they've already,
That's caught or not caught at this point. then.
right, that's history.
Do you want another light by the entrance?
I'm concerned about the light by the entrance.
Well, you talked about moving it to the other side.
Yeah, if they just move the one on the driveway.
We understand that Jim's gonna have comments, Brian's gonna have comments, and we're gonna address those comments. There's gonna be time to do that. I don't think you need to, I guess you only need to resolve that to your satisfaction tonight. But we have work to do with Jim and Brian. Our interest is building footings. That's it.
But you can't get the final until we give you, or you can't get the permit to do that
So
until we do the
give,
final.
right.
And that's what we're trying to accomplish
I'm
here.
just saying the things like light location, these details of the
Right.
site plan, we can work with Jim and.
Can we come back for any of
on
that?
those particulars. That, we're not
Okay.
gonna walk out of here tonight and ignore further comments. We understand we still have work to do with Jim and your engineer.
Well, and Jim can bring any of that to our approval, or for our consideration as
I
well.
do think it's pretty minor,
Right.
but we know we still have some tune-ups to do.
Okay.
So if I guess the question is, you know, if those tweaks can be made and Brian Lubinow's comments are addressed, you know, over the next week, we would be in a position, well, we're still going to be waiting for state highway probably, but yeah, that's still going to be,
So
procedure-wise, that's still going to be a bit of a,
let's just do this backwards. All they want is a zoning certificate, okay? Think outside the box, right? There's no box. They just want a zoning certificate. The zoning certificates are issued by the zoning administrator, and the zoning administrator works for the city council, for the city side, not the planning side.
Right.
You've already given them preliminary approval tonight. So the building's not going to change. It's all where it's going to be. Can't you request that the city council grant a zoning certificate so that they can build the foundation? And that means you'll then have the ability to come back and do final approval and make your comments, make all that stuff in a pace that you're comfortable with. And when you do that, they'll have final plan approval then.
I do too. It sounds better and we're not doing it.
It's a
We're
rush.
not
It's not a
rushing through
rush.
it,
right?
Yeah, because as long as
And so
Now,
then,
do we have the authority to do that as the commission to have, ask the council?
Oh, yeah, you can ask
you
the
have the
council to do
authority.
anything.
What I would do, what I would
Except for
suggest
nice.
is you have the authority to ask the council for this, okay? You have councilmen here. Then on the council agenda, both meetings, there's like a minimal presentation, maybe from us, maybe not, you guys don't have to do it, but very minimal about what, why, and why is this necessary? And then the council make a motion to do it. And then you'll get your waiver on the day that, I can't remember, was the 10th or whatever.
The 10th.
The 10th.
And you're
Your
sure,
certificate on the 10th.
we're sure we'll get 4 of the 5 votes?
If 4 out of 5 people
We
show
only
up,
need 3, so.
You're right. Okay. 2. I already got 1.
After May, you're only
Good
gonna
then?
get 3.
so that gets you the ability that they have it on the 10th, they're going to town on construction, and then you have the ability to look at the plan again and do these minor changes of stuff like lighting and that thing,
So 2 months from now, then it can come back for final approval.
or a month or whenever, but you don't feel like you're,
And we're not holding them up.
yeah, back here.
Back here, right.
So, and I'm expecting that'll be next month. When is the April meeting?
24th, I believe.
24th.
Yep.
We'll be here on the 24th.
Give it-
By that time, you'll have your certificate anyway.
Right.
But that'll give
And
us
then they'll be
Give
building.
us
in
our
their-
time to-
Right.
I think that's the way to go.
So if council approves on the 10th, then the certificate will go out on the 11th,
Yep.
next business day.
Henry?
You basically talked earlier just about the light on the crosswalk. Is that, are you okay with it? With that?
That's later now.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
details
Yeah,
that they
they're
know
gonna
about.
look into it.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a chance to say something again when we get the drawing.
Okay, so we're good having it put on the agenda for the council, let them direct him to do a certificate.
Okay, I need a motion. Let's get a motion on this.
So moved.
Okay, Jim, I don't have the slightest idea, so read the motion.
I move that we recommend council direct the zoning administrator to issue a zoning certificate for foundation. Correct? Is that what you're looking for?
Or shall.
Well, no, I mean, do you want to break it down just for the footers and the,
I think what you're talking about is we only issue a zoning certificate.
right, so we're not bringing them down to different.
Okay,
We could,
then
It's
cut that
just
off.
that.
Right,
I
zoning
think,
certificate.
as a practical matter, the difference between a foundation certificate and the shell, I mean, if we're gonna let them put in the foundation, the building's not gonna go anywhere but there.
That's right, so you
If
might as well do
we're,
this.
comfortable with the building, why don't we?
Right,
go
so
ahead
just
with the
cut
shell?
that off, so,
And Conowago and Evapco don't have to go through multiple steps to.
right,
Spend
Issue
money
them
on
a zoning
different stuff.
certificate.
Yeah,
right,
Right?
Right.
that's,
Okay.
yes.
cover all.
So
Before
let's
we
see,
vote,
resolution to request mayor and city council to authorize issuance.
I would change request to recommend. It's the recommendation of this commission that they do that. It would be,
Yeah.
yes.
Would it be any benefit for us to be present on the 10th, or do you see no need for that?
I'd be embarrassed, I wouldn't do it.
I always hate to handle your football, and fumble your play, but if you were to come to anything, we wouldn't want you on the 10th, we'd want you to come to the work session on the 5th.
Yes.
If you would like us to be here, we're happy to do that. If not,
The 5th is when all the discussion will happen. The 10th is just a vote.
and the 5th is what not.
7:30.
7:30, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So every day is something new, right?
And we used to do it.
That's right, that's why we're here, because we can.
We're happy to leave this with you all like that.
Oh, yeah, that's,
I think we're going to need that for the presentation
Yeah,
and a schematic, but maybe not that detailed. You don't have to create anything new,
Yeah, I
but
know.
whatever we have,
Okay.
something like that.
And I want to sincerely thank you for your cooperation. We don't mean to put you on the spot. We sat here in December, I think I counted 18 people who were in that day.
22 days.
The cooperation's been incredible from you guys, from the county, and if not for that,
And the governor too. Governor too.
We want to hear.
The governor too of the state of Maryland.
That's right, they all want that.
Yeah, it come-
Well, he's talking about it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Do we all feel okay with this?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You feeling okay?
He made a big statement about
Yes,
it.
he did.
Thanks to Jay, I think a lot smoother.
Hey,
Okay then.
D1.
We adjourn.
I'll just take that paper after we do.
All right. Next item on the agenda, consideration of Commerce Street to Maryland Avenue future alleys.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recuse myself from
I don't
this topic.
understand that one.
Okay?
Which one?
Thank you.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be fun. Okay.
See, we have
I'll let
something
Jen
like that
explain
too,
to you
don't we?
first.
Thank you.
Before we jump to that, just one more time back to FABCO. Our next meeting, period, is the 24th, right? Our regular meeting?
Yeah,
Yep,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
that's for final approval then.
We're still catching up with what we promised already.
Well, that's why I said, I just want to take time to get it right.
And if they don't need approval that night now, okay? When you meet on the 24th, they will not need approval, so that if you're not comfortable or you want time, they're fine, it seems, because they have all summer to be doing what they're doing already.
Right.
We're gonna have on our end, which we just are making it up as we go, like, when do we make them sign the public works agreement? And are there bonding requirements that have to be done? And when do they pay us for the water impact? And that's not gonna be at the zoning certificate now, so we'll have to come up with something else.
Okay.
Just
All
keep
right,
us
Jim.
informed. Just keep us informed.
Okay,
Can't say we're not developer friendly,
Yeah, I know. I hear that.
which we were told once.
so next up, and this was in the report that was intended for the March 14th meeting, which was canceled, will be the consideration of a paper alley that is on there's a plat in your packet, a small version of what's up on the board there, that kind of delineates the current site of the Hitchman on York Street. And there is a driveway or alley that runs from Commerce Street down towards where Maryland Avenue is depicted on that plat, which is now a portion of the Hitchman site. We have the Hitchman has purchased property, as I think we talked about already, between their site and Commerce Street, including the house that's on the corner of York and Commerce. And they would like to incorporate most of that site into the operation of the Hitchman and keep the house intact. So to make that more functional, they would also like to be able to utilize the area that's depicted on the plat as a driveway there. We've had a little bit of discussion on it. The mayor and council talked about it a bit, and of course wanted the planning commission's input before they took any action regarding disposition of the alley or driveway. So, short version, the Hitchman would like to be able to use that alley as part of their site development plan that's kind of waiting on a decision about the alley. We don't know for sure that it is or is not the city's, so what we would be looking at would be giving up any interest that we may have in the alley, but it is very likely one of those situations where when the subdivision plat was approved, the alley was never actually deeded to the city. It may still technically belong to Stanley Reaver, or the descendants of Stanley Reaver from that 1936 or 38 plat. So the question really is, do you see any need for the city to keep an interest in that driveway or alley area? And as
You're talking about two different areas, Dale.
Oh, the,
Talk about a driveway and the old paper alley.
the paper alley
Is
in
the-
question is this area here, this, I don't know if you can see from there, the kind of
Right there.
yellow ends right here. So this is Commerce Street. The brick home is on the corner.
Is that, you're saying the 10 and 11, right?
All of this.
Yeah.
Well, how about the one coming out on the Baltimore, or out on York Street?
It doesn't hit.
This area did not develop as it was originally platted, and unfortunately, the whole property did not get replatted at one time. So over time, portions of Free State Heights were built, and also when the Commerce Street area developed, houses were built across multiple lot lines. So a number of properties will own, 3 lots or 4 lots, and the house will sit across a number of lots. Other portions, the newer portions like Ridge Avenue and Maryland Avenue, did get replatted into larger lots as part of the Free State Heights subdivision. So this plat is this area is very difficult
Hang on.
to really follow in terms of tracing the history of the lots back. But I guess basically, the Hitchman currently occupies this area.
So you're saying lot 20 through 31 is the Hitchman, or
Back
10
to
through
81.
31?
Well, the existing site is basically from lot 19 here up to lot 81 that's on Maryland Avenue.
Okay,
But
okay,
the corner of it's actually where lot 76 is on Maryland Avenue.
okay.
And then it's basically that rectangle all the way down to the bottom. Well, I guess it would be to the north end of the property over here on the Holden end now. So the current site is basically this rectangle. They recently acquired this rectangle, which is basically the brick house on the corner of York and Commerce, down to the existing site.
So then they do own from 10
Yes.
all the way to 31.
Yes.
How about between 19 and 20?
That's not there.
Well, I mean, it's there.
There's no-
Well, that's our entranceway,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, it's just right, that's where
Well,
you're driving.
isn't
Right,
that a
it's
blind
just a
alley?
cul-de-sac then, right?
Isn't that a blind alley?
No,
No.
it's a cul-de-sac. The
No,
cul,
but you got space there between 19 and 20,
It's
which is
10.
a blind alley. Absolutely you do.
I thought that was their entrance into
At
Hitchman.
one time, they thought that was gonna hook into Maryland Avenue
Right.
and come out on York Street. It never happened.
Because they put.
It's
a
There's a
State-
right of way there, which is a blind alley.
Is State Highway ever gonna let it come out
I'm
there?
not talking about State Highway, I'm talking about the blind alley that's
Right.
there.
We purchased that property in 2002 when we purchased Don Strailer's lot. That was Maryland Avenue was in question, that strip of land you're talking about, Maryland
But
Avenue.
you didn't
Yeah.
purchase a blind alley.
The unimproved area of Maryland Avenue, oh, yeah, we did purchase that.
19, between 19 and
What's a
20.
blind alley? How could you purchase a
Well,
blind alley?
It was deeded to an investment company. It had been sold off to an investment company
Can't be.
at the time.
Yeah, it
I think
can
we're
be.
talking
I
about
don't know
two
why not.
areas.
Okay,
We're talking
well,
about the area that comes out on York Street, and we're talking about an area that comes out on Commerce Street. Two areas.
okay,
You can buy a blind alley, I've done it.
We did it.
Well, I'm
I've
talking
done it.
about these two now.
Yeah, but that one's,
so he say he owns that, between 19 and 20. The space, that he owns that. You got a deed, you got a deed to that, right?
Former Maryland Avenue, yes, was purchased by, it's our LLC, it's LPM.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay,
this piece
Okay.
is not in question.
right.
right.
Okay,
It's just this area right here, that's labeled driveway that runs next to lot 69.
Gotcha.
78.
Which lots are your plans?
And do we even want that?
And that's the question.
Is it
Do we
77,
even want that? Because it's not gonna do us any good.
Excuse me, wait a minute, hold on, guys. What are you saying, Ollie?
The alley, the alley behind the house.
Okay, you're talking about the one that says where the word driveway is.
Driveway, yes.
Okay,
That's the paper alley.
that's the paper. So who would say that it would go to Hitchman, not to lot 69 or 78?
That's kind of the question, because
That's always been a
they're,
question.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
earlier,
He's a hitch man, you
question
the hitch
on-
man.
On the
I don't see how I
site
bought
plan
that thing
and
right there.
progress and such. But again, this area was replatted as part of Free State Heights. That was the initial interfaith housing self-help program that was the first time interfaith operated in Taneytown. So the cul-de-sac is actually up here.
Right.
And there's a house
okay, I
in
moved it
this
far.
area now. And actually part of the driveway of the house, and correct me if I'm wrong, is actually on the Hitchman's property. Isn't that driveway for the?
Correct, on Maryland Avenue?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the cul-de-sac actually goes across the corner of the Hitchman's property.
Yeah, but actually, a big chunk of their driveway does and goes through. But it's
See,
fine.
see all those lots in there?
So basically where lot 78 is, that area there is already an existing house that accesses the cul-de-sac on Maryland Avenue.
Right.
Okay,
And the lot 69, the dwelling that runs across, I think it's lot 67 to 69, it may just be 68 and 69, has a driveway off of Commerce Street currently.
I have a couple like primitive drawings if you would like to see. I can pass them around.
sure.
That's something that I have a boundary survey that was done, kind of Clingan Properties before we purchased it, and then an aerial view. that
Yeah.
Just kind of drawn on.
Yeah, I'm pretty,
Were you
Yeah,
familiar?
you
send it down there.
Yep. Highlighted area.
I only
Okay.
What's the
How
same thing we got
could,
right now, really.
how could the right of way
Okay, so,
area that was to be the extension of Maryland Avenue
Yeah, this is where they
came
took all
on
the
out
trees
to
down.
okay. So
York Street? How's that,
Here's where
how's
they
that,
took
that be sold?
Well, what happened,
Okay.
I don't know what happened here, but what happens all over the place in the city is that, and we'll use a modern day example. Meads Crossing just got their plats approved, like that, and showed all those roads that are just basically in fields today. And they develop it, it's down the road, there's a piece, let's say, that they never build. And they never follow through, and the city never follows through on getting a deed transferred of that description from the developer to the town. So it's platted, but it's not deeded. Or in other words, it's dedicated, but it's never deeded to the city. And so we hold all our roads either by deed or by prescription, meaning we keep going across them. And this one here, we never went across, so we don't have it by prescription. And we don't have it by deed, so likely at some point in time, the remainder parcel was transferred. Even though it showed it was going to be a road, it was never a road, it was just transferred, and they eventually got it.
That was always an issue with the town because they were thinking one day that would be extended out to York Street.
We got them all over. The other one that I just dealt with Jim a year ago or so was a George Street that goes back by Amos's house, the rental house. Is a right-of-way that's on a plat that show it's supposed to be an alley, and the neighbors are fighting over it of who's supposed to do it, and they're saying, is it the city's? And it says, well, the city's on a plat, but there's no deed that's in the city's name. In fact, here, the deed was in someone else's name. That's why he was able to buy it.
Okay.
As opposed to the one that's marked driveway, that's not on anybody's deed. That's the thing, is that this gives us better title than anybody that we can find, because it's got a picture of it saying it's supposed to be a driveway and it's supposed to be public. But if you went to the land records to find that, you wouldn't find it because there's never a deed for it. There's never a deed to anybody else either. So what this gentleman's asking us to do is say, if we don't want it, and we'll go into the process, but if we don't want it, we can tell him, we may not own it, we may own it all, but we're giving you whatever interest we have. Good luck. So that's the deal. The issue for us legally that we have to be thinking about is we can give away surplus property. The city can, not you guys, but the city council can. They got to declare it surplus. They got to give a notice I think it's 21 or 14 days or 20 days. There's a notice that they have to give that they're going to do this. And that's it. They basically make a finding that it's surplus. We don't need it anymore. But there's an exception to that, and that's with roads, okay? When the city says it doesn't want a road anymore, it's a bigger process because you can't give a road away to benefit a person, like one person, right? Because I could give a road away that your house is on and somebody else owns it and now you can't get to your house. The issue here is we don't really necessarily own this. We have to pretend like we own it because we have the best title out there. But we have to show that there's no public interest in this road, meaning no public use, no public benefit. And if so, then it can be declared surplus and we can do this.
Is that Commerce Street coming down?
Yes, Commerce Street coming
Now,
down.
I seem to recall, well, minimally, but I do recall us talking about this at one time. And the issue was, like, everybody thought, well, we might want to hold on to that to get another access on 194. But then when we looked at it further, the likelihood of getting that permitted from State Highway wasn't going to happen because it needed the access decel, and they had no place to put it. You'd be taking people's property on that. So I don't think that, I don't know what we did about it, other than I remember we discussed it.
So this creates somewhat of a precedential issue in the fact that we have other paper alleys around town. And we have to distinguish this from other places or else everybody's going to want their paper alley next to them.
Well, and then that would lead me to my question. What do you want to do with that section?
That's the question. Yes.
Why do you guys want that?
Well, so we purchased the entire property, the whole roadfront property there.
Right.
And there's a cut-in entranceway already.
Okay.
Currently, our driveway is angled. If you've seen that drawing, it's angled coming in.
Okay.
And we have...
there.
Oh, he's got it down there.
Really, we're just looking for because we're looking to develop that lot just for more trailer storage like we have now.
Okay.
Just parking lot.
So that would just be another access
That's where you took
for
the trees down, right?
Yes.
Took all the trees down.
There's
Can I see those pictures again for a second?
other access to our lot.
Right, yeah, the other one. Okay, because...
Excuse me, George.
And I know...
The other, because when we purchased it, the previous owner thought that was his.
They want
So
to
we
come in
started
this
looking
way.
at it is,
Right.
So my first question was to Jim, does the city, who owns this? Can you help me find
Right.
out who owns this? You're trying to research it. So of course, our next step is the site plan, which will go through EPR survey, Randy Bachel. But I wanted to try and figure out ownership of this alleyway that adjoins our property
Right.
first before I proceed.
Well, and that's it. And to be honest, I don't have a problem with it, but here's the issue is the house that's right above the entrance had come to the town years ago.
What number?
Lots 67,
69.
68, 69.
What about them?
Okay, they had come in because they wanted to build a deck and were told no because of that property. So, and that's it. I'd love to be able to say, why can't we just accommodate both of you and make this work for both of you?
That
But,
house has just changed hands. The ownership of that
and that's,
property, they just got purchased from someone else.
Well, that should include 78 then.
Well, doesn't 69 want part of this?
78, you should take lot 78 then too.
well, and that's what I'm saying is,
Everybody that makes contact or their property is in contact with that driveway
It's not straight, is
should
it?
have equal opportunities.
yeah, to kind of jump
Doesn't
in.
69 want
And I
part
don't
of
think
it?
that they would want the property so much
what
as
she's
the
saying.
ability,
Well, that's what I understand.
to be given that option. If they've already come in once and said, hey, I want to use, and I don't even think they wanted the property, but because it was as a road, they were told, no, they couldn't build this deck.
The one house that enters off Maryland Ave, they
Yes,
have a fence up there now. That's the
right.
backyard.
And that's it, but it's more about the distance from the property. So I don't know, Jim, is there some way that we can make it work for,
I mean, I don't have any record, I don't know
I
how
know.
long ago that was, I don't really have.
well, and I think it was some time ago, which was probably before you, but I would hate to say, you know, as a town that we said, oh, sure, you can have it, but they were kind of kicked to the curb and said, don't even think about it.
Well, if they wanted to build a deck on the side of the house and they couldn't meet the side yard setback, they would have had to go to the Board of Appeals to get a variance to reduce that side yard setback. The property boundary wouldn't change. I don't know if they sought possession of the alley.
Well, and that's what I would like to find out, though, is if we could, if there was some way where we could make it work for both and all.
Are you
that-
talking about lot 69?
Yeah.
Yes.
Plenty part of this driveway.
I'm not sure it's even that they want part of the driveway, but we've got to be able to figure out how to make it work so that, you know, if they may not even still want the deck. I don't know, but I'd like,
The property has changed hands.
I don't know about that, 'cause-
Maybe we just need to hold back up here a little bit. Jay, what is the responsibility of this commission as far as this alley? Because what the town does with it is the
Right.
town's issue. What is our responsibility as the commission?
You have no direct responsibility about deciding what happens to the alley. However, at the council meeting, they said that part of the road plan for the whole city is in the master plan, which is something you guys talk about. Albeit this is probably not on that. That's how it came to say maybe it should come here. The bigger issue, I think, and again, I don't know how far along the plans are, but if we weren't here talking about this and he whipped up his site plan and had some type of problem with access, what would this commission be telling him about that? Hey, you have to get access off of Commerce Street, in which case we'd be back here. So I think that's the question of that. Plus, you also, the way I drove by the house, but doesn't that house have access to that side too?
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, so there's the access issue that you may be altering, but it's all owned by one guy now. So before it would be if I did something for him, what happens to the house on 10, 11, and 12? Now he can agree to it. So you don't have to do anything, but the council is looking for some type of report, maybe not a recommendation, but a report saying we looked into it and we're okay with it, we're not okay with it, we don't have any comment on it, it's not something we want to deal with, but the council is going to have to deal with the request, one way or the other.
And a few years back out in Cloverberry area, you took away, or you gave some property to a homeowner. Was that divided among everybody that touched that property, or one homeowner?
You mean you, not me, right? Because that's with me, okay.
No, I mean the
Years ago,
city.
right.
The city, not you personally.
We, okay.
No, this is you.
Right.
The property in question was adjacent to their home, that's who got it.
Okay.
And that created a nightmare.
Nightmare.
That was not consistently.
No,
Applied.
okay.
What happened, so we're clear,
I think we're
is,
digressing a bit. I really think the question for the commission is just with regard to, you know, this stretch here. Does the planning commission think that in the future the city is going to have need to develop?
I think we
that
should look at it
as-
one more time before there's any decision made.
Look
Now
at-
we know exactly what they're talking about.
Okay, well, I went out and passed
understand
already,
the
so what,
69 wants part of that
you want
alley.
He just wants to
to,
see
Because
it.
of that alley.
I want to revisit it,
okay.
but I don't know what everybody else wants to do. I'll go with whatever.
I think the disposition of it, the final disposition of it is going to be up to the mayor and council.
correct.
Right, but don't we kind of have to make a recommendation or a suggestion?
As to whether the city needs to keep an
Right.
interest in this. So the question really is, do you foresee this becoming a city street at some point, or a city?
No.
Well, let me ask you one more question then. So can I drive from Commerce Street over to Maryland Avenue through that strip of land?
No, none of
Why
those.
not?
A couple
Why not?
trees and a garage.
Is there a,
That's our property. Actually, we have a fence there.
No, according to this, it's not your property.
Yeah, it
Yeah, on
is.
this
If
At
you
the
look
Maryland
at that.
Street driveway intersection, at the blue line, put to the blue,
Here.
that, the middle blue, like the
House.
square in the,
No,
right
that's a
there.
fence. That's where their fence
That's
is.
the corner of their property. And Maryland Avenue isn't there anyway. Because Maryland Avenue is a cul-de-sac above it.
Yeah.
This is a
way
real
up.
picture, so that's the
Okay,
cul-de-sac. Do you
that's
see
what I was
that?
trying to see,
Yeah,
right.
it's
So
hard to
there-
see on
So
that.
there's nowhere for that alley to go.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I say.
Except for their parking lot.
Okay. And is there any reason we have to make a decision on this tonight?
No?
I mean, if we don't, the city's gonna go ahead and act, or it's gonna wait until we
It's
hear
waiting
from
for
us?
you.
Because we have a request that Ollie would like to go out and revisit the lot. I mean, I've been there.
Before we make a decision.
They're not going to act without you because
just
they're not
me,
doing this type of work, level
Okay.
of detailed study.
George, you okay
Yeah,
tabling this to next month?
yep.
And we'll, sorry to interject, but we'll probably, I mean, the site plan is starting now, so we'll probably uncover whatever other missing information there is as far as that alley when he's researching the site plan. But when we purchased the property, the title company researched it in depth. We did a detailed title search. They couldn't find anything on it. Jim looked into this, I guess.
That's what came up with.
On it. So aside from me hiring an attorney, a land attorney to really dig into it,
Yeah.
that's why I approached him first before going that route to find out what my options were.
Well, and that's
If
it.
I have any. If not, it's gonna be a grass strip,
Right.
and it's gonna be maintained, I guess, by the city of Taneytown.
I doubt that, but anyway.
I know.
So Jim, based on what we're saying, is there any problem with us, as far as you're concerned, tabling this till next month?
I mean, I suppose it may delay moving forward with the site plan by a month. If commission members would like to go out and take another look at it before making a decision, that's certainly your prerogative.
We wasn't riding around to take a look at that particular driveway. Now we will be.
Okay.
And that's it. Not trying to throw a wrench in your plan.
Right.
At all. Just want to make sure
Yeah,
that the
this
bases
all
are covered.
research for me. This how this all came about. Is I was trying to find out what it was.
Right.
Well, like I say, I know of other areas in town that's the same situation.
Well, up here by the Red Barn, that's a blind alley through there.
Well, Fairground Avenue, where I used to live.
There's one out beside,
That pisses
there's
everybody
one
off
out
over there.
beside Bornstein that runs in there.
You
But
want to
anyway.
get good? I own
It's
an
all
alley.
right, that's all right.
It drives everybody
Until
crazy.
you prove me different, I own an alley.
We'll go table this to next month.
Right beside
Okay.
the plumber. I own
Just-
that alley. I pay taxes.
Can I hold
that
on to
alley.
these, or do you need them?
Beside the plumbery.
That would be great. That would be
That's
fine. Yeah.
And I'll
No,
tell you
that
how
would
we-
be no problem at all.
That'd be great if you could email them
I'll
to
tell you
Jim
how
so
we
we all
did
got
it right
copies. Yeah, that'd be,
Yeah, email them Jim, Jim can send it.
Yeah.
and we all can get it.
We all get them.
I know.
Okay,
Who was your title company? Do you know? Remember? Who was your,
title sign?
yeah, okay. Okay.
I toyed with bringing Free State Heights up to hang on the board, but it's very difficult to go to really, I don't have the ability to do an overlay for you.
Right.
That's what really would
Yeah.
help. If
Yeah.
you could see, against these lots, where the existing cul-de-sac is and where the existing lot.
Well, and that picture he has
If
was kind of
if you
nice.
could copy his overlays for each one of us would be nice.
Well,
Or
I think
even
that's
the
what he
county.
That's what he's gonna do.
Email 'em to
Email
us.
it.
Yeah, I'll email Jim.
Okay.
And then he'll email to us.
now, just back up one more thing. You said the driveway on 78 is part on your property?
Yeah, it catches the
Yeah, it
corner.
is. Shows
It's
it.
on that picture.
Well,
So,
I'm just,
We never protested that.
He's like-
It was there when we were purchasing it. We just fine.
okay.
It's just so funny.
Yeah.
just tell me, after all these years of Maryland Avenue being very controversial in coming out on York Street, how could it disappear the way it has? Tell me that.
When they built the cul-de-sac, I guess was where it happened.
Yeah,
It makes me raise.
and there was issues.
No, I don't understand that.
Free me.
Because the city has always had this as a controversial item.
I don't disagree, George, but what I recall happening was the talk about what's the likelihood of getting that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was part of the conversation.
It's in the control of state
Yeah.
highway.
But it disappeared without the city knowing anything about it.
And
I
there,
think
They're all like that. The one right up next to the printer.
Yeah,
And what's her name, or who used to live there?
Alexander's.
Yeah, that's not an alley.
That's a blind alley.
That's not a city alley. It is
No,
on
that's
paper,
right.
but
Right.
we don't maintain it.
Right.
It's a big issue.
Between
She owned that
the sewing factory, Bornstein Sewing Factory, which is now owned by Lou Jordan, and the big brick house, which was built by Bornstein for them to live in while they were
Right.
working there, there's a blind alley right beside of that house.
That's the one that goes to George Street.
Yep.
Yep, and that's caused a problem too. They cause problems everywhere because people think the city owned them.
And it's still there.
And
Yeah,
in
nobody
essence,
else there.
the question for us is, well, we might not own them, but should we be giving them away? And I would say it depends on where they are. The one from George Street, we could say we own that, pave it, and it'd be a connection through.
Yeah.
Here, well, there's no connection going to happen, but you have to go through your other issues of what are you doing because some property owner might have wanted it or other things. But
Well, if the city determines that they don't want it,
right,
why can't they somehow give some kind of an agreement to the people they give it to, and that's it, dead issue.
that's
That's what they're trying to
Essentially
do.
what they're trying to do. Yeah,
I mean, nothing else is involved.
just wanna make sure
Even the
everybody's
guy you give it to doesn't have to do anything with it.
right, right. That's what can be. That's the solution if you want to get rid of it.
Okay.
All right,
All right,
we're finished with this subject.
Okay, so we'll get back to you.
Okay. We'll pick it up next month, on the agenda for next month. Would you ask
Where'd Brad go?
Mr. Wentz to come in? We're finished.
why did he go out?
Because he-
this is his parents' house.
Right, he had to sustain from being part of it. He couldn't be any part of the conversation, or that's why he stepped out
Get out.
I
Come
thought he was
back.
going to go find us
next
something.
month.
Right, so your parents are still in
Probably
that
heard
house.
Just
All right,
look at it.
that was harder than a Vapco.
I know.
Why do you think I walked out?
He was like, ooh.
No good answers. Okay. Ordinance and agreements to review, none. Jim, you want to talk about anything on your report that we didn't already hit?
I think we've pretty much hit everything this month. Just a quick update. We will be having representation by the county while they're filling Scott's position. But this month, the timing just, both folks who are going to be filling in had other obligations this month, so.
Do we have a name?
It will most likely be Bobby Moser, at least as an interim, and if she's not.
that's good.
If she's not able to make it, then we'll probably have, Linda Eisenberg, who's the bureau chief. I think she's been here and presented
Yes.
previously. So between the two of them, we'll have, coverage from the county.
But that's
and-
just interim, right?
Right, so I think they're awaiting, the personnel piece there to fill the position and everything to make permanent appointments. But Bobby Moser also has, I think, New Windsor, who don't meet regularly, but apparently they had something on the agenda this month and actually had a planning commission meeting, so she had to attend there. So anyhow, so the county will be represented going forward, even though we don't have a permanent replacement yet. And that's about it, unless anybody, well, really, we've already talked about pretty much everything that's on the active projects list. Unless anybody has questions. Okay.
Okay, Jay?
None, nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Henry? No. George?
No, I don't have anything regarding this. I have another question I'd like to ask, though. Is there a Meet the Candidates night this year?
Yes.
When?
The
April
20th?
20th?
April 20th, yep,
April
at Senior
20th.
Center.
Huh?
Senior Center,
Okay.
same as last year.
I haven't heard any about one.
I got some type of notice, email, I got an email on it.
I didn't get any. April 20th.
April
is-
20th. And I think it was
Who's
7:30.
sponsoring it?
Chamber.
The chamber.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, no, it's not 7:30, isn't it?
No, it's earlier than that.
April 20, I'll tell you in a minute. It's at 6:30, 6:30 to 8:30.
When's the?
16.
Okay, that's the new date, yeah. And,
We mean it's a new date.
Because originally they had it on the 13th.
Oh, okay, not Easter, but you're talking about the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
right, we originally had it
These are the
for
20th, right?
Right, yeah,
Holy
Yeah,
Thursday.
that's a Thursday, okay.
yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, they were gonna have the Thursday before that. That would've been.
But I hear rumors that the Pumpkin Women's Club is
Okay.
fourth.
Is that when they're doing theirs?
Get an invitation,
I sure didn't.
then
Bradley, you have,
If the commission could start thinking about the sidewalk displays downtown. Remember we allowed it for a short time for consideration. I think it's been going very well. I think they're doing a nice job. It's not looking trashy. I think we should consider maybe making that a little more permanent and actually setting up some real guidelines to it. Perhaps a permit process or something like that.
all right. Maybe, Jim, we put that on next month's agenda?
Oh, we're gonna make a comment next month's agenda?
Yeah, we'll talk about it so we have time to think about it.
I still got the same comment that I had before on that.
What was your comment before?
Please don't have food out there. My apartments are being egged now because there's flaps of eggs outside 24/7.
Wait,
And there's
eggs?
always food outside.
It's
Who's
this
leaving
last
eggs
one,
out?
right?
The Curiosity Shop's always got food out,
Yeah,
free
he's-
food.
He gives food away.
Oh, I do have.
Isn't that a health
question.
department issue?
Do we have a health?
I don't know, but he does it
Wouldn't that be a
all the
health
time.
department issue if he's giving food away?
I washed eggs off the sidewalks and my porch post and everything else all over.
I will look into that.
Okay, Jim, I'll come back to you, George.
I don't think I have anything. If I did, I've totally forgotten.
Holly, anything else? George, back to
I'd like to get a pig for a pet,
Okay.
and
Oh, pigs are so cute.
I understand they're gonna let chickens come in now, so I
hard to
wanna,
say.
I think I should have a pig.
I
When
do
did
too,
this
George.
come
I don't
out?
see any
They
reason
just
why
were
you
talking
can't.
about it.
Just run it through the town. Get permission from the
As
town.
long as you walk it on a leash.
You need to write a letter to the mayor,
And then you'll get some pig-shaped
and
candy.
he'll invite you to the meeting.
Well, if they have chickens, there's no reason why I can't
If
have a
it comes
pig.
to that, I think there definitely has to be some guidelines.
Today, I had my first call.
Chicken call?
inquiring about pigs that someone had.
Pigs?
them.
They already
Someone
do have
has them in the city?
Did it sound like his voice?
Wait, like,
I have been asked off and on over the years if, because apparently potbelly pigs.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're
Are-
good pets.
Delicious.
Tear a house up.
As pets.
They can be house trained.
And I had a call today, and typically when somebody asks if they can have them, you have to tell them that, you know, the code does not specify what type of animals you can or cannot have as a pet, but I would recommend against it because I believe that it would generate complaints and,
But I'll keep it clean. I'll keep them
and-
clean.
And with the chickens, what I tell people is that animal husbandry is prohibited within city limits. So raising chickens for eggs is animal husbandry, so you can't do that. Unfortunately, people
heard that
have
one.
countered and looked up the code because everything's online and very accessible now, and have argued the point of the code not specifying what they can have as a pet. And they claim the different types of animals as pets. So I know the mayor and council a couple of years ago at their retreat decided that they were going to create clarifying legislation regarding animals and what you could and couldn't have in the city, but that has not moved forward in the
Surprise.
2 or 3 years that, no, I guess it's been about 4 years because I think
Yeah,
it was when
Joe brought it up.
Joe Vigliotti was a new council member. So it hasn't seen the light of day in a few years, but I know that was the last word from the council was,
Well, there's a hog pen right behind my house, which I can lease, and it's got room for corn. So I'm all set up, and I'll keep them clean.
I think we're gonna have a requirement, you have to keep all these things in your house.
Yes, I think that would be good.
I get a potbelly pig for in my house.
That's fine, as
They
long
keep-
as,
They keep them in their
That's
houses.
called the chicken problem too.
Yeah.
I walked into a cellar full of rabbits.
Oh, I bet that stunk.
the week before, there were only 2.
Anybody have anything else?
Just a thought to throw out, if we do want to discuss the outdoor displays in April, there has also been interest off and on, and it's on again, I understand, for allowing outdoor dining in the downtown district. And that would also currently be prohibited because of the entirely within a building, phrase that's in the general provisions of the downtown business district. So if we want to be talking about allowing some outdoor uses, this may be, at first thought, you might look around and say, well, there's no place there's no room on the sidewalk anywhere, but there potentially could be sites that, if there's demolition of some structures or, another property converts to a restaurant or coffee shop or something that might be conducive to having outdoor seating space. So just something, if we're going to be looking at that aspect of the downtown business district.
So right now, you're saying if they would want to put something in the back of their building, and I'm referring to right down the street or Country Kitchen?
They shouldn't be doing that because of that section in the beginning of the downtown business district.
So as of right now, they can't do it.
Entirely
Yeah, we
within
should
buildings.
definitely look at that too.
Yeah.
So
I don't think the city has been aggressive, since I've been living in the city. There have been various things that have occasionally popped out on the sidewalk. I think the coffee shop would
Are they
occasionally
coming?
put a couple tables out when they used to be.
The outdoor,
And certainly we've had outdoor displays off and on until some abuses of that made us clamp down on it for a while. But obviously we've, relaxed with the state of enforcement currently. So just something to think about, if we discuss that next month.
I think while we're talking about downtown, the other thing I'd like to consider is a way that we can allow drive-throughs downtown.
Al, what?
Are we still talking just about the Sheets property?
Well, primarily, but I think if we word it in a way that the property has to be at least an acre, it has to have access on 2 separate streets, things like that, and really pigeonhole it, the bank would become conforming, the Sheets property would qualify, but there's really nothing downtown that would even qualify for that because they wouldn't have access on 2 separate streets. So I think we could actually create something that would allow it, which would maybe make that property more marketable and we won't have to look at an empty building for that much longer.
well, I heard a great thing about that the other day. Somebody said they're gonna make it a post office.
That was another rumor
I was so happy with
started.
that, but
Yeah, someone started that rumor.
I know that was a rumor.
But I think there's a way that we could make it happen. And considering those outlying areas, it could work.
How large is the Sheet property? Is that acre?
It's just over an acre.
Okay.
Yep.
Suppose a new bank would abandon the bank building down here.
Would they have access on 2 separate streets?
Well, they would now, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
Well, which bank are you talking?
The new Windsor State Bank.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about
Suppose the
that one,
parent
okay.
company now would abandon this building.
I don't think.
Right? If
Okay,
they,
does
if
anybody
they
have
did
anything
that-
else in?
No.
Okay.
It could happen.
So we'll thinking about something on that then too.
And I'll send something to you, Jim, before then.
All right, next meeting's April the 24th. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Carried.
Roger that.
For adjournment, I'm sorry.
Ollie did.
Ollie.
Right?